Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 21st century songs that were pulled from the radio. For this list, we'll be looking at any tunes from the beginning of the 2000s to today that were at least temporarily removed from radio due to controversy. Did we forget a censored track that you love? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10, Your Revolution, Sarah Jones. Sarah Jones is a multi-hyphenate artist who wrote the song Your Revolution in response to hip-hop music and MCs, particularly of the 1990s and early 2000s.
The real revolution ain't about booty size, the Versace's you buys, or the Lexus you don't drive.
In order to address the issues at hand, Jones needed to create art that was both raw and explicit. After a Portland radio station chose to play the track, it was threatened with an FCC fine.
No, my Jamaican brother. Your revolution will not make you feel bombastic and really fantastic and have you groping in the dark for that rubber wrapped in plastic.
The agency declared Jones's work indecent due to its content and made it unavailable for radio play, despite it being a critique of rap culture and lyrics. This led to a legal battle between the performer and the regulatory body.
Your revolution makes me wonder, where could we go if we could all drop the empty pursuit of props and the ego?
A few years later, the FCC reconsidered their stance because of the piece's greater context. Number 9, Girl Crush, Little Big Town. Little Big Town's Girl Crush was a hit single in its original release, but it also garnered controversy for its lyrics.
I got it real bad. Want everything she has.
The world of country music is more open-minded these days, although some more conservative fans will still cling to the time where references to same-sex relationships or attractions weren't prevalent in music.
I got a girl crush.
Despite the song being much more nuanced than its title suggests, certain radio stations reportedly decided against playing the track due to complaints. Conflicting reports seem to argue over just how many stations avoided the single.
I got a heart rush. It ain't slowing down.
Whether or not the bands were over-exaggerated, the story picked up steam and brought about a conversation that contributed to the cultural impact of Girl Crush. Number 8, The Real Slim Shady, Eminem. It's no surprise that Eminem's music generated controversy when it hit the airwaves in the early 2000s. Even with that in mind, the track The Real Slim Shady had a much more complex release.
Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? I repeat, will the real Slim Shady please stand up?
The hip-hop single received a radio edit that was intended to follow the FCC's guidelines. In a bizarre turn of events, a radio station in Colorado still received a fine for playing the censored version.
I'm Slim Shady, yes I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up.
This decision confused more than a fair share of people who thought that everything was done by the book. Apparently, the FCC found it to be offensive regardless of the edits, but they later changed their ruling upon further inspection and outcry from other artists.
Like a head trip to listen to, cause I'm only giving you things you joke about with your friends inside your living room.
Number 7, Royals, Lord. Not all radio bans are for explicit content or political reasons. One case in point is Lord's Royals, which was lifted from some San Francisco radio stations in response to the 2014 World Series.
Every song's like gold teeth, gray goose dripping in the bathroom, bloodstains, ball gowns, trash in the hotel room, we don't care.
The Giants happen to be facing off against the Kansas City Royals, inspiring a somewhat clever piece of protest from loyal baseball fans in the Bay Area.
We'll never be royals. It's a running our blood.
Ironically enough, the performer was partially inspired by a photo of former Royals player George Brett in his uniform. It's definitely an anomaly in terms of radio bans, and is arguably one of the few cases of censorship that's trying to be funny in the process.
Let me live that fantasy.
Number 6, Paper Planes, MIA. MIA rose to superstardom with their track Paper Planes.
I fly like paper, get high like planes. If you catch me at the border, I got visas in my name.
Other than creating catchy and subversive works, the artist is known for being outspoken about her roots and connections to Sri Lanka. Due to her ongoing political messages, the artist became persona non grata in the country. While most of the world enjoyed this satirical performance, citizens of the island nation were unable to hear the hip-hop song on the radio. It was banned along with her greater catalog for being associated with the performer, partially stemming for her support of the Tamil people against the Sri Lankan government.
Yeah, I got more records in the KGB. So, no funny business.
Number 5. Walk On. U2. Led by their singer Bono, U2 has always been an outspoken group, and this track showcases their interest in peace movements.
And if the darkness is to keep us apart.
Included on their album All That You Can't Leave Behind, Walk On was meant as a celebration of Burmese activist Aung San Suu Kyi. The government of the country decided to ban the song and its parent album for being associated with her. While the lyrics don't explicitly endorse any movements or anyone associated with them, the inspiration was enough to be blacklisted. Considering the nation's political uncertainty at the time, this reasoning was at least somewhat motivated by worry over international influence. Number 4. Judas. Lady Gaga. No stranger to controversy, Lady Gaga is one of the more fearless singers of her generation. Her album Born This Way brought her into the 2010s in a major way with a number of bold singles including Judas.
Judas, 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 Gaga.
The track itself drew ire from religious groups and even international governments. Banning the tune from the radio, Lebanon did not take kindly to Gaga's songwriting and its metaphorical use of the biblical figure.
I just supported for the baby, so cruel, but still in love with Judas, baby.
Lebanese officials didn't stop there, as copies of the record were even impounded. Regardless of its actual message, the singer's release had ruffled enough feathers that there were those that felt it needed to be erased from public consumption. Number 3. Chop Suey. System of a Down. Chop Suey is considered perhaps the gold standard of metal numbers from the act System of a Down.
Wake up! Wake up! Run, rush, and put a little makeup! I just have to fade away the shake up! Why'd you leave the keys up on the table?
Released in August of 2001, the group could have never prepared for the events that followed its release. Due to the fiery nature of the songwriting and performance style, the band's single was put on a list of songs that should not be played after the events of September 11th. While it was not a formal ban, the Clear Channel memo included Chop Suey and hundreds of other tracks that were considered inappropriate for airplay in the aftermath of the tragedy. So both its recognition and the controversy it raised have placed it here.
Why cry when angels deserve to die?
Number 2. If You Seek Amy. Britney Spears. Conquering the charts and stirring up controversy in the 2000s, Britney Spears was bound to confront censorship as she pushed the boundaries of her music.
Oh baby, baby, have you seen Amy tonight? Is she in the bathroom? Is she smoking up outside? Oh.
Her song, If You Seek Amy, had a provocative title that freaked out some parents for its perceived double meaning. This provoked outrage from the Parents Television Council, who didn't want the piece played on the radio while their kids were awake. They warned they'd file indecency complaints if the original version of the tune was played, essentially banning its daytime playtime. Eventually, the track received an edit that took the K out of the title. Worries about potential FCC complaints might have influenced some radio stations, but the single endured and became another hit for the pop artist. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Pumped Up Kicks. Foster the People. Pumped Up Kicks by Foster the People generated its own controversy upon release in 2010.
I don't even know what, but it's coming.
The lyrics told the story of a student who imagined getting revenge on his classmates in a song that was both timely and graphic. After the 2012 events at Sandy Hook Elementary School, the indie pop effort was pulled from certain radio stations in Los Angeles. The same thing happened for Kesha's Die Young, a track that didn't even deal with gun violence.
Let's make the most of the night like we're gonna die young.
The band kept releasing music after this particular case of modern censorship, but this provocative piece still ranks among their most talked about efforts. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.